Okay, so now I'm going to take her base and just kind of... Thank you. This is why I have you here. So I'm just, putting little brush strokes all over her face, and then I'll use the wedge to blend it out and make sure that everything is covered. Just going to blend it all out. And I guess another thing, so you can use complementary colors in makeup, like in your base. So if you had, really red cheeks or any sort of like acne you needed to cover, if you put like more green in the base part that you're putting there, it will counteract that. Yeah. Be careful not to go too green. Okay, and yeah, so with the base, pretty much you want to put it everywhere that you're going to put makeup onto. Okay, I'm going to grab a paper towel. And so in terms of whether you do shadows or highlights first, it doesn't really matter. I think I tend to do shadows first just because that's what I prefer. So on your handout here, so the handout goes through each of the areas on the face that has the shadows. And then on the third page with the male face, there's the little diagram there of the shadows and highlights. So for a face diagram, like you can use different colors of colored pencils. For the highlights, like I did on here, typically just like those dots, and then the shadow, the parallel lines. Just an easy distinction between the two in the placement. Okay, so first is the temple. So if you feel your temple right off the side of your forehead there, kind of that tender spot, like you can feel where your head kind of slopes to the side in the tender spot, that's where the shadow is going to go on the temple. For the nose, so it's the side of the nose, and it's going off of what, the shape of your nose is, what the natural shape of it is. So you're not trying to change anything, you're just trying to enhance what you have. So you're going to go from the eyebrows down to the tip of the nose, looking at where your nose naturally starts to curve to the side, and so that's where the shadows are going to start, and then they go down the side of the nose. For the eye, so the shadow starts in here, and then it scoops down closer to the eye on the outside, so down there, because the highlight is in between the eyebrow and the shadow on the outer side of the eye. So you just need to make sure that you're leaving room in there for the highlight to fit in. Cheek, again, natural shape of your cheek. So you want to feel and find your cheekbone, and that's where the highlight is going to go. So then the shadow, so basically the highlight will be right on top, then there'll be a little bit of base, and right where your cheek kind of starts to sink in below the bone is where the shadow is going to be placed. And with the highlight and shadow on the cheek, you don't want them to come, you know, like clear in to your nose or anything like that. Like, don't go that far in. This handout shows you about shadowing and highlighting the mouth. I'm not going to have you do that. I'm just going to have you use your lip liner to outline your lips. But if you think about how the light is hitting it, the bottom one is going to be catching the light, so the bottom one would be highlighted and the top one would be shadowed. The chin area, so right, can you see that little kind of oval shape where your chin folds in? So below the lip to that line is where your shadow goes. And then this points out if you have a cleft, you would also shadow your cleft to enhance that. And then the jawline. So going with the natural jawline, like the highlight would be right along the edge, and then the shadow is going to go down the neck just a little bit. That's it for shadows. And then this lovely young woman, man, here. So this just, you know, on a 3D surface shows you where those shadows are going and where the highlights are going. So you can see, yeah, on the eye there, and it also depends on how much room you have. You know, if your eyebrows are higher up and you have more room in between your eyes and that to put the makeup. Should I face it that way? There.
So you're right over here. It's just awkward.
We're all
Nobody likes it.
Nobody likes that.
like, I didn't have a problem with it if it wasn't staring at me.
And you also want to try and get them so that they're symmetrical. Cheeks and nose placement and all of that. So I usually just kind of draw a line to get my barrier of where the shadow's not going to pass, and then put a little bit down below that I'm going to blend out later. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, and then jawline. Okay, and you're just going to be tracing your natural jawline. And you're not going to go, you know, all the way out to your chin, and then go down a little bit.
Just not now, so this is where the face ends.
Yeah, pretty much. This is where it sinks away into. Okay. Do the eye. Okay, so that's all the places that the shadow goes. So I'm going to go ahead and blend those out, and then I'll go over where the highlights begin. So when blending, you want to be careful not to like drag it down, you know. Like if you dragged the temple shadow down too far, then you would be getting into where the highlights on the cheek go. Same with the shadows on the cheek, you don't want to blend them clear down to the jawline. And also if you blend them down too far, then you just end up looking like you have stripes on your face, because then it just goes shadow, highlight, shadow, you know, highlight. So you want the base in there to kind of break that up. And basically the purpose of blending is just to kind of soften the shadow so that there's no like distinct lines. And I guess with the blending, like I do go down a little bit, but most of the time I'm just kind of dabbing to lift up and blend that shadow in. Okay, that's it for shadows. Any questions on shadows before I go to highlights?
Does that all blend more for stages or?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. Like for me, that's blended good enough. And then hopefully if there's no class in the Schwartz, yeah, I guess we'll, cause this is more Schwartz-ish.
Okay, now for highlights.
So this one covers the forehead. I don't have to do the forehead, but basically the forehead would be right in the center there. The one that I have you do is on the sides, right above the temple, so right above the little eyebrow bone there is where I have you put the highlight. The eye orbital bone. So basically that's right below the eyebrow there is where you're just going to put a little bit of highlight. The nose, so you're just going right on the very top of your nose there. Cheekbone, like I said before, you're kind of finding your cheekbones and then placing the highlight right on that bone. Chin, so you have that little kind of crescent shape there on your chin, so the highlight is going to go right out there where your chin sticks out. And then the jawbone, is just going right along the edge there above the shadows. So again, as you can see, lovely person here. Highlights, bam, bam, bam. And then right along the jawline. Okay. So do the same thing as the shadows, just kind of put the makeup on, blocking out where the highlights go, and then I'll blend it in. And with your little sponge, you want to try and keep separate from, like base, shadow, highlight from where you're blending, so that way you're not mixing anything on the sponge when you're blending that transfers to the face. Okay. So pretty much for shadows and highlights, there's placement and blending. So the last couple things, outlining your eye. So in your kit, you should have an eye pencil. Yeah, let's see. Lip pencil.
The ones right there. They should all be.
Okay. Yeah, so you have a couple eyebrow, and then a lip pencil. So basically, you have a lighter one and a darker one, so choose which one is more appropriate for hair color and skin tone. But when outlining the eyes, so I have you outline the top and then halfway like across the bottom. So I don't want you to totally outline your entire eye. So across the top and then halfway across the bottom for outlining of the eye. And then the lips, just outline and you can fill in the lips.
Yeah. Do you have guys do the whole upper lip as well?
Oh, for the eyes?
Sorry.
Yes, yeah. Because with that, like outlining the eyes, you have the dark that pops against the white, so it helps your eyes to stand out. And I guess I don't know if I think it looks more natural or it makes them look larger without just like fully outlining them, but I like how that appears better. But yeah, male, female, I have both outlined, so. So if you've never used a pencil before, stop. Okay. And stop that right there. Nice.